Have you ever paused amidst the hustle and bustle of daily life and asked yourself, is this really all there is? Perhaps you feel like a hamster endlessly running on a wheel, caught in repetitive, somewhat tedious tasks, and yearning to do something more meaningful. Or may you feel bound by responsibilities, the pressures of making a living, to the point where stress and exhaustion have become unwelcome, constant companions. Some of us strive relentlessly, waiting for success and wealth to arrive like a golden ticket to freedom and happiness. Yet others, even those who have achieved considerable material success, owning beautiful homes, fancy cars, plenty of money, still feel a nagging emptiness deep inside, a sense that something is missing, that material possessions alone cannot create true meaning in life. And then there are times when we fall into a state of stagnation, losing joy and enthusiasm for our work and life. We look at others who seem happy and wonder why we aren't. We fumble around, searching for answers, a path, and a proper living purpose. You are far from alone if you've ever experienced these feelings, even fleetingly. These are deeply human concerns, questions that sooner or later we all confront on our growth journey. Today, BookSmart Insights wants to introduce you to a book that can illuminate the path. It is considered a guiding light for many people seeking to find themselves and awaken to their life's purpose. It's the classic, A New Earth, Awakening to Your Life's Purpose by Eckhart Tolle. Hi everyone, welcome to BookSmart Insights, a channel for sharing knowledge for personal development through good books. Perhaps many of you have heard of Eckhart Tolle through his earlier famous work, The Power of Now. But few may know that this man of profound wisdom endured years of severe depression until the age of 29. It was a sudden spiritual awakening that completely transformed his life, turning him from a suffering individual into one of the most influential spiritual teachers in the world. So, what is it that keeps us stuck? What is genuinely controlling our lives, often without us even realizing it? Is life's purpose solely about the things we can see, touch, or possess? And most importantly, who am I really? In today's session, we will delve deep into the core messages of A New Earth, exploring the fundamental concepts Eckhart Tolle shares to better understand ourselves and discover the path leading to a more meaningful, peaceful, and fulfilling life. Let's embark on this fascinating journey together. So where does the root of these feelings of being stuck, empty, or suffering we just discussed lie? Eckhart Tolle points to a primary culprit, a sophisticated imposter living inside us. He calls it the ego. How do you usually respond when someone asks, "Who are you?" Isn't it with your name, age, profession, hometown, marital status, achievements, or possessions? We use these labels and descriptions to define ourselves in the world. But Eckhart Tolle poses a more profound question. Are all those things really you? Are you merely the sum total of your thoughts, emotions, experiences, social roles, or the material assets you own? The answer, according to Tolle, is no. All those things, names, bodies, thoughts, emotions, memories, possessions, roles, beliefs, nationalities, religions, are just labels, concepts that we attach to ourselves or that society attaches to us. The total of all these labels forms a psychological structure, a false self. That is the ego. The ego begins to form very early on. When a child starts recognizing, "This is my name, this is my toy," or "Mommy is mine," the seeds of the ego are sown. As we grow, it's further reinforced through identifying with our gender. I am a man, I am a woman, and the accompanying expectations. With our appearance, beautiful, ugly, tall, short. With our profession, I am a doctor, I am a teacher. With our level of education, with our beliefs, with stories about our past, and plans for the future. The ego isn't bad in a moral sense. It's simply a state of consciousness, a form of unawareness, a case of mistaken identity. The problem is that the ego always feels insecure, lacking, and incomplete. It's like a bottomless pit, constantly craving to be filled. Because of this sense of lack, the ego always seeks to, 1. Separate. It creates a sense of me versus other, mine versus not mine. It constantly compares and judges, seeing itself as better or worse than others. 2. Identify. It clings to external things, possessions, thoughts, roles, reputation, to find a sense of identity and value. It thinks, I am what I have, I am what I do, and I am what others think of me. 3. Control. Wants to control everything, circumstances, people, the future, to feel safe. And precisely, this operating mechanism of the ego is the deep-seated cause of most of our life suffering, conflict, and dissatisfaction. It drives us to pursue what Tolle calls the outer purpose. Have you noticed how much of what we are taught and encouraged to do in modern society revolves around strengthening the ego? We're told we must be successful, have lots of money, achieve status, and own the latest and most incredible things. Advertisements bombard us daily with the message, "You're not good enough yet. Buy this product to become better, happier, more admired." This is the ego's game. It plunges us into an endless race to accumulate material possessions, reputation, power, and knowledge, hoping that someday, when we have enough of these things, we will feel complete, happy, and at peace. We become preoccupied with owning. Even people already very wealthy, who have more than enough of everything, still relentlessly seek fleeting pleasures and external validation to affirm their self-worth. In reality, this is just the cry of the ego, trying to prove its existence. Albert Einstein spoke eloquently about this, calling our identification with the personal self an optical delusion of consciousness. We confine ourselves within the tiny shell of the I, separate from the vastness of life and the universe. Philosopher Socrates warned, "The unexamined life is not worth living." Failing to recognize the ego's activity within us is living an unexamined life and unawareness. So, what specific forms of identification does the ego manifest daily? Let's explore this more closely. We must first recognize how it operates to escape the ego's grip. Eckhart Tolle points out several common forms of identification that most of us fall into. Firstly, identifying with things. This is the most easily recognizable form. Remember when you were little and you lost a favorite toy, maybe just an old piece of wood or a simple doll? How heartbroken you were? That pain didn't necessarily come from the toy's material value, but from the thought, "That was mine." That sense of ownership became part of your nascent self. As we grow older, this pattern continues, only the objects change. We attach our sense of self to the latest smartphone, the shiny car, the comfortable house, the balance in our bank account, the designer collection. We say, "My phone, my car, or my house." But unconsciously, we believe our self-worth increases when we possess these things. Of course, objects and possessions are necessary for life. We need shelter, transportation, and clothing. The problem isn't ownership itself, but instead we identify ourselves with these things, seeing them as an inseparable part of who we are, and using them to bolster the ego. When this happens, losing possessions isn't just about losing an object. It becomes a deep wound to our sense of self-worth. We feel lessened. Conversely, when we acquire more, we think more valuable. This is the ego's trap. Have you noticed limited edition products? It's a very subtle way marketers exploit the ego's desire to be unique, to own something others don't have, manipulating our purchasing behavior. Someone might ask, so is it wrong to be proud of what I've achieved? Of my possessions? Or is it wrong to feel inadequate because I'm poor? Eckhart Tolle doesn't talk about right or wrong. He points out that both pride and inadequacy are expressions of the ego. When you realize this, you begin to gain freedom from it. You can still enjoy material comforts, but they no longer define you or control your emotions. Attachment gradually dissolves when you stop trying to find yourself through things. How to start? Observe. When you feel sad, anxious, or angry about losing an item, or feel inferior for not having something others possess, just notice. This is the ego's attachment at work. Notice without judgment. That is the crucial first step. Secondly, identifying with the body. This is another intense and common form of identification. Identifying with gender. We are born with a particular biological sex, and society imposes countless stereotypes and expectations about how we should behave, think, and feel. Men don't cry. Women must be gentle and take care of the home. These prejudices constrain us, preventing us from fully expressing ourselves. Men suppressing emotions can lead to unwarranted anger or illness. Women confined to domestic roles may feel stifled and unappreciated. Breaking free from rigid gender identification allows us to live authentically and experience life more diversely. Identifying with appearance. In a society obsessed with physical beauty, we easily fall into the trap of comparing our appearance with others or with unrealistic ideals. We worry about weight, height, wrinkles, and skin color. Some feel inferior for not being beautiful enough, while others become overly confident, even arrogant about their looks. Both extremes are manifestations of identifying with the body. Some people even unconsciously use illness or physical defects as part of their identity to attract attention or pity. Eckhart Tolle reminds us that the body, like all forms, is impermanent. It will change, age, and eventually decay. Seeking our identity or lasting value through something so temporary is a mistake. This doesn't mean we neglect the body. On the contrary, care for it like a precious temple. Eat healthily, exercise, get enough rest. But the difference lies here. Instead of focusing solely on the outer form, beautiful, ugly, fat, thin, shift your attention to feeling the life within the body. Feel the subtle energy flowing in your hands, feet, and entire being. That is connecting with the deeper life, with the timeless within you. When you do this, the obsession with appearance naturally diminishes. Turn any self-consciousness about your appearance into motivation to cultivate more core, lasting values, a rich inner life, a kind heart, and a clear mind. That is the true beauty that doesn't fade with time. Thirdly, identifying with the mind. Do you ever notice a voice in your head that constantly comments, judges, worries, and speculates? I should have done this. Why did that person treat me like that? What should I do next? What if? This incessant stream of thought is the activity of the mind. The problem arises when we identify entirely with this stream of thought. We believe, I am my thoughts, I am my knowledge, I am my opinions, I am my memories. When caught in this identification, we view life through a lens clouded by concepts, prejudices, and judgments. We quickly get swept away by negative emotions like anxiety, fear, anger, and resentment, which are often fueled by the very same repetitive negative thoughts. For example, when something undesirable happens, the mind starts complaining and criticizing. This complaining fuels feelings of discontent. Prolonged discontent breeds resentment. These negative emotions further darken our perception of events, creating a vicious cycle with no escape. It's like a broken record, endlessly playing sad or angry tunes. Suppressed negative emotions, not recognized and transformed, can accumulate into what Tolle calls the pain body, a field of negative energy lurking in the mind and body, which periodically awakens and dominates our behavior, causing suffering for ourselves and others. How do you break free from identification with the mind? The first step is to become aware of the stream of thought and the accompanying emotions without identifying with them. Become the silent observer of your own mind. When a negative thought or complex emotion arises, acknowledge it. Ah, a thought of worry is here. Ah, a feeling of anger is arising. Don't judge it. Don't try to push it away. Observe it with detachment. Observing your thoughts makes you realize that you are not the thought. You are the space of awareness, the stillness behind the noisy thoughts. This is the key to freeing yourself from the mind's domination. Another crucial step is practicing forgiveness. Forgiveness isn't condoning wrong actions. It's freeing yourself from resentment, which only harms you. Understand that people who hurt you often act out of their egoic unawareness and suffering. Forgiving them is also forgiving the unawareness within yourself. As Jesus taught, first go and be reconciled, a paraphrase emphasizing releasing inner conflict before outer action offering. Fourthly, identifying with roles. Life is often compared to a grand stage, and each of us plays various roles. The role of a child, a parent, a spouse, a friend, a boss, an employee, a doctor, a teacher. These roles are necessary for us to interact and function in society. However, problems arise when we identify entirely with the role, forgetting the actual person behind the mask. The ego loves clinging to roles because they provide a sense of identity, of importance. I am a devoted mother. I am a successful director. I am a knowledgeable person. When we become too engrossed in our roles, we can become rigid, losing flexibility and authenticity. Someone playing the parent role might control or impose on their children in the name of love, turning their achievements into their own egoic trophies. Someone playing the spouse role might become jealous and controlling in the name of love, actually serving their insecure and selfish ego. Someone playing the boss role might use their power to show off, feeling more important than others. Some even play the victim role, constantly complaining, blaming, and attracting pity without realizing they are imprisoning themselves in suffering. This role is hazardous as it prevents growth and taking responsibility. In romantic relationships, we often try to play the perfect role initially to please the other person. But no role can last forever. When the mask drops, the raw ego emerges with its demands, expectations, disappointments, and anger, causing the relationship to crack. How do you break free from identification with roles? Be aware that you are playing a role, but you are not the role itself. Fulfill the role's responsibilities as best you can, but don't let it completely define who you are. When you are a parent, love your child unconditionally, but don't see them as a possession or an extension of your ego. When you are a boss, lead with respect and collaboration rather than authority. When interacting with others, see the human being behind their role. For example, the patient is not just a patient, they're also a person. Allow yourself to be authentic, sometimes intense, sometimes vulnerable, sometimes happy, sometimes sad, without needing to wear a perfect mask. Don't be afraid of being ordinary. You find a genuine connection with yourself and others in that ordinary authenticity. Fifthly, identifying with fame and power. This is often the pinnacle of ego-driven desires. The wish for wealth, good looks, superior intellect usually hides a more profound longing for recognition and admiration from others, fame, and ultimately, the ability to influence and control others, power. The ego craves attention. The feeling of being unique and superior. It can motivate people to do extraordinary things, but it can also lead to negative actions, creating scandals to get noticed, boasting about wealth or talent to gain admiration, using power to oppress or belittle others to reinforce one's own position. History has witnessed figures like Hitler or Genghis Khan, individuals dominated by the power ego, causing immense suffering to humanity and themselves. The ego always cries out, "I don't have enough." So, how much is enough? It's never enough, because the ego is fundamentally a feeling of lack. It's like trying to fill a bottomless barrel with external things. How to deal with the desire for fame and power? Once again, the key is awareness. Observe these desires arising within you. Acknowledge them without judgment or blindly acting on them. When you realize this is just the ego's voice seeking external validation, its power over you diminishes. Seek fulfillment from within, from connecting with your true nature, rather than from the temporary validations of the external world. Having identified the sophisticated imposter, the ego, and its various modes of operation, how do we escape its grip and live a freer, more meaningful life? Eckhart Tolle offers two crucial keys: awareness and living in the present moment. Firstly, the transforming power of awareness. As we've touched upon, awareness is the antidote to the ego. The ego can only exist and control us when we live unconsciously, unaware of it. Just as darkness cannot exist in the presence of light, the ego automatically dissolves when illuminated by the light of awareness. So, how do we practice awareness? Observe the inner landscape. Cultivate the habit of watching what's happening inside you, the thoughts drifting through your mind, the emotions rising and falling, the body's automatic reactions. Recognize the ego in action when you feel angry and want to argue, when you feel superior or inferior, when you're judging others, when you're worrying about the future or regretting the past. Pause for a moment and recognize, this is the ego speaking, reacting. Just remembering it is the beginning of separating yourself from it. Non-resistance. When facing a difficult situation or a person behaving negatively, the ego usually wants to resist, fight back, and blame. Awareness helps you see this. Instead of reacting blindly, which fuels the ego on both sides, try practicing non-resistance. This doesn't mean being weak or accepting mistreatment, but not creating inner opposition. Maintain a state of calm observation. From that calmness, you can act much more wisely and effectively. Non-resistance, as Tolle says, isn't weakness. It's an expression of inner strength. Recognize the ego in others. When you understand it, you'll also easily recognize it operating in others. This fosters compassion and tolerance for their negative behaviors. As you know, they too are often driven by their own unawareness and suffering. Awareness isn't a one-time achievement. It's an ongoing practice that requires attention and patience. But whenever you practice awareness, you reclaim your freedom from the ego. Secondly, the hidden treasure, living fully in the present moment. This is the core message running through all of Eckhart Tolle's work. Why is the present moment so important? Because in reality, the present moment is all we ever truly have. The past is gone, existing only as traces in memory. The future hasn't arrived, existing only as projections in the mind. Life only ever happens now. But the ego doesn't like the present moment. It constantly pulls us into the past or pushes us towards the future. Stuck in the past, the ego loves chewing over past events, mistakes, hurts, regrets, resentments. It uses the past to define who I am. I am someone who failed. I am someone who was hurt. It turns the past into a prison. The story of the monks Tanzan and Nikito, mentioned in the video, is a perfect illustration. Tanzan carried the young woman across the river and put her down immediately, both physically and mentally. But Nikito, despite not touching the woman, mentally carried her image and his judgments about her for 5 hours. Aren't we like Nikito sometimes? Carrying unnecessary burdens from the past, worrying or dreaming about the future. The ego sees the present moment merely as a means to an end. When I get that job, house, relationship, then I'll be happy. Or it worries incessantly about bad things that might happen. It makes us miss the life unfolding right before our eyes because our mind is preoccupied with things that aren't real yet. We sacrifice the present for an uncertain future. When that future becomes the present, we continue looking towards another future. Happiness remains perpetually just around the corner. Seeing the present as an enemy, sometimes the ego fights against the present moment. When we feel bored with our current job, complain about our circumstances, and get irritated by what's happening, we make the present an enemy, creating unnecessary inner conflict and suffering. How to live in the present moment. Living in the presence, isn't an abstract, lofty concept. It's simply bringing your attention to what is happening right now, both inside and outside of you. Pay attention to your breath. Breathing always happens in the present. Becoming aware of the in-breath and out-breath a few times brings your mind back to this moment. Feel your body. Feel the life flowing within your body, your feet on the ground, and your hands doing whatever they are doing. Listen to sounds. Listen to all the sounds around you without judgment, without labeling. Observe your surroundings. Look at things around you as if seeing them for the first time, with curiosity and attention. Focus on the action. Whatever you are doing, whether washing dishes, brushing your teeth, walking, or working, try to give your full attention to that action. Don't let your mind wander to the past or future. When you practice being fully present, something magical happens. The ego's incessant mind stream quiets down. Anxiety and stress dissolve, and you begin to feel the peace, joy, and aliveness of this moment. You don't need to go anywhere else or do anything special to find happiness. It's right here, in the present moment, when you stop seeking it and start living fully with it. As Eckhart Tolle says, you cannot find yourself in the past or future. The only place you can find yourself is in the now. As we begin to free ourselves from the ego's grip and practice living in the present, another crucial question arises. What is the true purpose of this life? Eckhart Tolle offers a profound perspective. Each person's life has two interconnected purposes. Firstly, inner purpose, the primary purpose. This is the most important purpose, the foundation for everything else. It's not related to what you do or what you have, but to your state of being, to your level of awareness. The inner purpose is awakening. Awakening from the ego's dream, from identification with form, thoughts, emotions, body, roles. It is awakening to realize your true nature, pure awareness, the silent space behind all mental activity, the connection with life itself, with the universe. Different spiritual traditions name this purpose differently. Buddhism calls it enlightenment or liberation. Jesus calls it salvation. Hinduism calls it awakening, but the essence is the same. It's a shift in consciousness from being dominated by the ego to living from awareness, from presence. The inner purpose isn't a destination in the distant future. It's a state you can access and live from right now through the practice of awareness and presence. Secondly, outer purpose, the secondary purpose. This relates to action, doing, and the goals and achievements you want to accomplish in the external world. Building a career, raising a family, creating products, helping others, and pursuing passions. Most of us focus only on this outer purpose. We set goals and strive to achieve them. There's nothing wrong with this. Outer purpose is necessary. It's how we express ourselves and contribute to the world. However, problems arise when we only pursue the outer purpose while forgetting or being unaware of the inner purpose. When that happens, all our actions, no matter how successful by worldly standards, are still often driven by the ego, wanting to prove oneself, seeking validation, wanting control. Consequently, even when we achieve our goals, we may feel empty and insecure or relentlessly chase the next goal. As the saying mentioned goes, the road to hell and suffering is often paved with good intentions. When actions stem solely from the ego, even with good initial intentions, they can lead to undesirable outcomes and cause more suffering. The harmonization of both purposes, according to Eckhart Tolle, the key to a truly successful and fulfilling life lies in harmonizing these two purposes, with the inner purpose as the foundation. This means you still set outer goals and take action to achieve them. Still, your actions are no longer driven by egoic insecurity or desire. Instead, your actions flow from a state of awareness, from presence in the present moment. Imagine a tree. The inner purpose is like the strong roots anchored deep in the earth, connection to being, to the now. The outer purpose is like the trunk, branches, leaves, flowers, and fruit reaching towards the sun, action, achievement. A tree can only grow healthily and bear fruit sustainably with strong roots. Similarly, our outer purpose only becomes truly meaningful and brings lasting happiness when nourished by the inner purpose. You realize you are not separate or isolated when you align with your inner purpose. You are an inseparable part of the universe, of life itself. Your actions then serve not just the tiny self, but become an expression of the evolutionary impulse of the universe flowing through you. How to harmonize? Focus on the quality of the step. So how do we bring the inner purpose into our outer actions? The answer lies in shifting your focus. Instead of being solely fixated on the destination, the goal in the future, give your primary attention to the quality of the step you are taking right now. You still know where you're going. You have a goal, but your primary concern is how you take this current step. Are you taking it with attention, with presence? Or is your mind already at the destination or complaining about the path? As philosopher Albert Camus wrote, real generosity towards the future lies in giving all to the present. When you take good care of the present moment, the future will naturally take care of itself in the best possible way. The destination depends on the quality of the steps taken in the present. When you work, focus on the work itself rather than just thinking about the results, the salary, or the recognition. When you are with loved ones, be truly present with them and listen to them. Instead of having your mind elsewhere, do whatever you do, even the most minor task, like drinking a cup of tea, with full attention. This is how you harmonize inner and outer purpose. The inner purpose, presence, awareness, is expressed right within the outer purpose, the action you are currently doing. 3 modalities of awakened doing. How can you tell if your actions arise from awakened awareness or egoic resistance? Eckhart Tolle identifies 3 qualities, or 3 modalities of awakened doing. Ideally, at least one of these 3 qualities should be present in whatever you do. Firstly, acceptance. This is the most fundamental foundation. Acceptance doesn't mean passivity, resignation, or giving up efforts to change things. It means saying yes to the present moment's reality, whatever it may be. It's the cessation of the inner war against what is. Examples: you're stuck in traffic in the rain. Instead of getting upset and complaining, "Why me? This is terrible," you accept the situation. Okay, I'm stuck in traffic and it's raining. From that acceptance, you can calmly find a solution. Find another route, listen to music, call to say you'll be late, or experience the moment peacefully. You have to do a tedious task. Instead of inner resistance, "I hate this," you accept that this needs to be done right now and perform it with attention and without complaint. You encounter a difficult person. Instead of reacting to their negativity, you accept them as they are in that moment, without necessarily agreeing or liking it, and interact with them from a place of inner calm. Acceptance breaks the ego's automatic, unconscious patterns of resistance. Reactions that often make things worse, like panicking and struggling when falling into quicksand, only makes you sink faster. When you accept reality, you stop wasting energy fighting it. That energy is then freed up for you to act wisely and effectively to improve the situation if necessary and possible. As the spiritual teacher Jiddu Krishnamurti suggested, the secret is not minding what happens. Deep inner acceptance brings immense power. Secondly, enjoyment. When you no longer resist reality, you have acceptance, you can take another step, finding joy and enjoyment in the act you are performing. It's crucial to note, this joy doesn't come from the result of the action, e.g., joy from praise, joy from making money. That's still the ego seeking external gratification. True enjoyment is the joy that flows from within you and that you bring into the action. It arises from connecting with the state of inherent peace and aliveness that is always present within you when you are present. You can find joy in the simplest things when you do them with full attention. The pleasure of feeling the warm water while washing dishes. The pleasure of noticing a flower by the roadside. The pleasure of truly listening to a piece of music. The joy of completing a small task with focused concentration. When you work with enjoyment, the work ceases to be a burden and becomes play, a dance. Your energy flows naturally. You feel alive and engaged. Thirdly, enthusiasm. This is an even higher energy state. Enthusiasm includes enjoyment in the present action, combined with an element of a goal or vision you are moving towards. When enthusiasm is present, you feel a powerful energy compelling you to act. You use your mind creatively, feel inspired, and work tirelessly without feeling drained. This is where ideas and plans in your mind are powerfully translated into physical reality. It's the creative energy of the universe expressing itself through you. Great artists like Leonardo da Vinci and Mozart, dedicated scientists, and people passionate about their work often operate in this state of enthusiasm. Modern psychology calls this the flow state. However, it's important to distinguish genuine enthusiasm from the ego's stressed, desire-driven striving. When the ego drives, you might also be very focused and work hard, but it's often accompanied by tension, anxiety about the outcome, competition, win-lose mentality, or wanting to manipulate others. Genuine enthusiasm has no opposition. It doesn't create winners and losers. It comes from inner fullness and the joy of creating and contributing. Paradoxically, when genuine enthusiasm is present, The selfish desire to achieve the goal seems to lose importance. You enjoy the creative process unfolding. As Eckhart Tolle shared, he didn't aim to become a famous author. He enjoyed writing down the insights from his awakening. What happens when none are present? If you don't feel even a hint of acceptance, enjoyment, or enthusiasm in your work or any action you take, that's a vital sign. It indicates you are acting from egoic resistance. Therefore, you are creating suffering for yourself and possibly for others around you. In that case, you have two choices. 1. Change the situation. Stop doing that activity or leave that situation if possible. 2. Change your inner state. If you cannot change the situation, turn inward and practice acceptance. Find peace right within the undesirable circumstance. Sometimes, from that very acceptance, enjoyment or even enthusiasm can arise unexpectedly. My dear friends at BookSmart Insights, we've just journeyed together through the profound layers of meaning in Eckhart Tolle's A New Earth. The path of recognizing the ego, escaping its subtle traps of identification, and returning to the power of the present moment is truly a revolution in consciousness. The core message Eckhart Tolle conveys is simple, yet incredibly powerful. The primary purpose of life doesn't lie in external achievements, but in the awakening of inner awareness, the inner purpose. When we anchor ourselves firmly in presence, in a state of acceptance, enjoyment, or enthusiasm in every action, then the outer purpose, the things we do, the goals we pursue, will automatically be infused with the energy of life, of the universal flow. That is the path to true success, measured not just by material wealth or fame, but by the peace, joy, and meaning we feel in each living moment. This isn't just an abstract theory. It's an ongoing practice, an invitation for us to slow down, look deeper within, and reconnect with our true nature. It might not be easy initially, because the ego's habitual ways of thinking and reacting are deeply ingrained. But don't be discouraged. Every single moment, you choose awareness over unawareness, the present over the past or future, and acceptance over resistance. You are taking a significant step on the journey of awakening to your life's purpose. Today's sharing has brought fresh perspectives and inspiration to begin or continue your journey of self-discovery. If you feel intrigued, don't hesitate to pick up a copy of A New Earth to ponder these wonderful messages more deeply. Thank you so much for listening and joining BookSmart Insights today. If you found this video helpful, please give it a like, share it with friends who might benefit, and most importantly, hit that subscribe button for BookSmart Insights and the notification bell so you don't miss out on future videos sharing wisdom from great books. Your support is the greatest motivation for me to continue creating quality content. May you always find peace and joy in every moment of your life. Goodbye for now, and I look forward to seeing you in the following video.